Hello, and welcome to this week's Career Chat. Career Chat is where we talk to different people in different fields about their career journey, any obstacles or successes they've come across throughout the way. We hope teenagers, inspires you to look at different careers, maybe encounter a career you've never thought about. Adults, maybe you're in between careers, you need some ideas about what's out there. Maybe you have an interest in something that we talk about on Career Chat and you can explore it further. My name is Shannon Crooks. I am a librarian 3 at the Hillcrest Heights branch of the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. And on today's episode, we have Cameron Tidd. He is a software engineer, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his career. So first off, welcome, Cameron. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yes. So let's start off with defining what a career engineer is, what your job responsibilities and duties are.
Let's see, how do you define it? Well, software engineering is essentially the practice of creating software, but what's software? Anytime you use a computer, you're using software. We're on Zoom right now. Zoom is a program. Software engineers had to make Zoom, and that's what I do. I make programs that people use every day. Google Chrome's a program. The operating system you're using, Microsoft Windows, Mac OS, their programs. So we have to design these programs. We have to get the requirements of what they're supposed to do. We have to write the actual code that implements these programs. We have to test them to make sure that they work. And we have to release them to the world so that the world can enjoy the fruits of our labor.
Okay. So what type of computer programs or software programs do you make?
That has varied over the course of my career, interestingly enough.
Okay.
I started out making a reporting tool for a chip test firm. And that was my internship. And then I joined a department that was doing computer chip testing and manufacturing, and they needed solutions to diagnose failures, and they needed solutions to get pattern recognition on how the chips were failing to fix their manufacturing processes and that sort of thing. And then another company I worked for, I had to work on a utility company field worker solution to, if you're in the field as, say, an electric company worker and you're fixing power lines, you need to check on your map where to go. You mark, this is what I did and this is what I fixed. And you can record that in that app. And what I do now, there's a whole swath of things that I've done, but we do conduct surveillance, data loss prevention, and analytics for financial firms for regulatory compliance. So they have to make sure that their employees aren't doing anything illegal, not doing insider trading, not sending out information they shouldn't be sending out. So our solutions largely deal with that and deal with analytics for those firms and data retention. So they have to archive their communications and the results of applying policy, which is how they prevent those sorts of things from leaking and stuff like that. So part of being a software engineer is you have to constantly learn. You're always learning. Every job you take, it's called the domain of knowledge. I didn't know how computer chips worked. I didn't know the concerns of a utility company fieldwork solution. I didn't know how financial firms did their conduct surveillance or anything like that. But you have to kind of jump in. You have to kind of figure out the world and what your clients need and figure out how to create solutions that help solve their problems.
Yeah, so viewers, if you're thinking about computer programming or software design, you know, start working on logic puzzles, problem solving, analytic type things. There's a lot of different games out there that you can get into, some computer coding programs that are free. And you can start now while you're young. And then as you work your way through school, maybe if this is something of interest to you, you can build upon those skills that you start out working on right now. Okay, so Cameron, how long have you been in this industry?
Uh, I can't believe how long I've been in it, but I've done it professionally for 9 years
Hmm.
since last month. So 2011, I started.
Okay, did you have another career prior to this one?
I don't know if you can call it a career, but I tutored math and computing courses in college
Okay,
to get some money to kind of support the big goal, which was becoming a software engineer, which knock on what I did. So
yeah, awesome. Did any of that help you today in your profession by doing the tutoring?
I think it definitely helps because it works on you being able to explain concepts to people, because a lot of people like to think of the lone hacker who's got their hoodie just sitting over the keyboard and nefariously coding all night. And in a company, it's not really like that. You're in a team, you have to work with people, you have
Hmm.
to have decent communication skills, you have to convey your ideas effectively, not only to people who technically know what you're talking about, but to business people who don't know any of the technical side. And you have to justify the sorts of things that you need or the sorts of decisions that you make. So I think tutoring did help a great deal with that. And it also helped when I did a stint this past spring. I was an adjunct
Hmm.
at Marist for a intro to programming course. So that was a fun adventure I got to do this year. But then the pandemic hit and we all had to go remote. So I was in the thick of that.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
I would say that it helped though.
Okay. So viewers, if you are, maybe doing a part-time job or, maybe working with people, you can build upon your communication skills if you're teaching something, if you're presenting something, because 9 times out of 10, when you get in the working world, you're going to have to do presentations, you're going to have to work in teams, you're going to have to work on projects. So you can start working on those skills now. And then adults, you're probably working on a team now in your current career. So you might want to work on your interpersonal skills, your communication skills, because you're going to be using those throughout any profession and any career that you may come across. So Cameron, what was your educational path from high school to where you are now?
That's a pretty long path, but I we'll get through it.
Okay.
So I started in community college. I went to my local community college. I started doing that in high school to get ahead with some credits.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike a lot of people, I kind of knew what I wanted to do from like almost middle school or even before that, because like I got my first computery thing in 1995,
Mm-hmm.
called the VTech Pre-Computer Power Pad, and it came with this booklet that taught you BASIC, which is a programming language, and I was playing around with it, and I was really fascinated. I was like, this is really cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can enter things into the computer and it spits back out my name, or I can make it ask questions and I can put in the answer and do calculations. Like this is really cool. So that started the love for it kind of early. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of knew that this is the path I wanted to take. So I chose community college because I wasn't quite ready to leave the nest. I wanted to save money. I wanted to find myself, I guess. So, and I found my wife, so it worked out, I'd
Yeah.
say, pretty swimmingly. I double majored in
Mm-hmm.
computer science and computer information technology networking because I wanted to diversify my options because, if I didn't get hired as a software engineer, perhaps I could get hired as a network administrator or computer repair tech or help desk technician. Those are other types of roles in the information technology field. So I wanted to diversify a little, and I graduated from that, and I had to transfer because at the time, at least, companies weren't really looking to hire people with just associates for programming roles.
Mm-hmm.
You really had to get the bachelor's to kind of get your foot in the door. So I transferred to Marist College and I got my Bachelor of Science in Computer Science there.
Mm-hmm.
All the while, I was trying to be involved as I could. I entered programming contests in both schools. I started a team at Marist for that. You try to code the most amount of problems in the fastest amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually held one at our community college, Orange County Community College, for the freshmen, which
Mm-hmm.
was pretty fun. And I was part of the clubs there for computing, and I was pretty involved. And I got into I got started to get to know my teachers, and I got really close with one particular teacher. I consider him a mentor. His name's Alan Labassiere, and he uh, he was the career advisor at the time too, because
Mm-hmm.
I needed to start thinking about where I needed to go to school. And I talked to him and I said, "Do you have anything? I need an internship." And he forwarded my name along, and I ended up getting that internship. And that internship was with IBM.
Oh, wow.
So I am a former IBMer, and I'm glad because that basically jump started my career. So Marist was pretty important for me to get to my career, and I was very lucky in that I had that internship right out of school, and I converted to a regular employee right after that internship, and I've never really had a gap. So it's been a straight 9 years. So I'm fortunate for that. But then I always wanted to do grad study,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't satisfied with just sitting on a bachelor's, but there were considerations for that because you'd have to take a sabbatical from the job, they'd have to give you a leave of absence, and grad degrees are notoriously expensive, and you don't really need them to get hired in most entry level positions in this field anyway. So I didn't know if it was in the cards, but
Mm-hmm.
I got an email from Marist about a class, a massively online open course, a MOOC that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about artificial intelligence and building a self-driving car.
Mm-hmm.
And that course morphed into the platform Udacity,
Mm-hmm.
which is a course for those sorts of MOOCs and is big in IT education. And then from there, I got an email as a result of that saying that Georgia Tech was creating for the first time, I think it was the first one ever offered of its kind, an online Master of Science in Computer Science program, completely online.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and Georgia Tech is ranked in the top 10 of computer science programs.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a big deal. And uh, the greatest thing about it was the cost, $6,600 for the entire degree.
Wow.
The entire degree.
Wow.
I said, "There's no way I can't do this. I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing this."
Mm-hmm.
So I applied very early, and I got into the first cohort they stopped admitting at like 400 some, I think,
Mm-hmm.
students, and I got in. So I
Wow.
was part of a grand experiment in education
Mm-hmm.
with that, and now there's like 2,000 every semester doing courses, but we were part of that first big cohort, and it's exciting getting to learn and getting to advance in my field and knowing all these smart people I was working with in my classes, and getting to know teachers who are really experts in their field, and really honing in and getting a lot better at computer science and programming and engineering in general. And it really did help me get better. It taught me so much that it was definitely worth it. And I did finish that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have the master's, and that's pretty much the educational path I took.
Wow.
I recommend doing that. I mean, a lot of jobs don't require it, but it's harder to get your foot in the door. You might need to have what's called an open source portfolio. You might have to write programs yourself, post the code on something like GitHub, and
Mm-hmm.
then put that on your resume so that potential companies can see what sorts of programs you write. But I think a decent path is education and an internship, because it worked really, really well for me. So
Great. You said a lot of things. You started off with just, fiddling around with a machine to see if, you really liked it. And you said, "Oh, this is really cool. Let me try to see if I could, do more with it or learn more about it." Then you talked to someone at your school and they became your mentor, which was awesome, and they connected you with an internship. So I can't stress enough, viewers, for you to try to network as much as possible. If you're in school, you can start with your teachers. You can express to them, your career interests and see if how they can get you connected into maybe some type of program, maybe a camp. If you're interested in computer coding, I know a lot of teachers are using that in schools now to work with kids to learn how to problem solve, to learn how to work on a project with other people. So you could start there. But just, talk to people in your school. Maybe try to find a mentor and they can get you connected. And then adults, if you're interested, Cameron mentioned GitHub. If you're working on programs or you're learning how to program, you can start posting your work there. That's an option. But there's several things you can do to prepare yourself. Then you can look at educational programs in the area. I like that you talked about community college. I haven't really talked about that on Career Chat, but in this area, Prince George's County has a wonderful community college, PG Community College in the area that offers several different programs for people to enroll in. So check out PG Community College. They may have a computer science program or other programs that may be of interest to you. Yes, it doesn't cost as much as a four-year college, and it's in the area, it's local. Maybe you want to stay around and do an internship and go to school, or maybe you want to save up some money while you're going to community college, but it's a great option. You get the same courses you would get at a four-year university at an affordable price. So thank you
definitely.
for that, Cameron. How did you um, get interested in the overall profession? You told us about, playing with the VTech, but what other things inspired you to go towards computer science?
That's a great question. So that was the sort of genesis of it. And of course, that wasn't the only thing. From there, a lot of your younger viewers might not know what this is, but I got into internet relay chat, IRC channels, chat rooms.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah,
Like back in the day, like AOL.
yeah, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Now it's like Snapchat and Messenger, but in those days you'd join these chat rooms,
Hmm.
and it's still around, but it's not as popular. And I to connect to them, you needed to use a client, And that client, you could script things. You
Mm-hmm.
could write little programs to do things like you could make a Uno game, or you could make what I eventually made. I saw somebody make an auto greet script, which anytime somebody joined the chat room, you could set, like, say, "Hi, so and so, it's nice weather today." You could set that as your greeting. And then
Wow.
every time you join the chat room, that bot, it's called a bot, would uh, print that auto greet.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured out how to do that on my own by reading the documentation and twiddling and figuring out, and I basically copied the functionality myself because it was fun. It was fascinating. Like, how does this work? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I want to figure out how to do this, and I puzzled it together, and lo and behold, it worked. And I was bit by the programming bug, and uh, from there, I made a breakout game in Game Maker Studio, which is as it says, it makes video games, which is a pretty fun thing you can do with coding. I haven't done it professionally, but you can make games, and that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I just never lost interest. I've always had a passion for it because the way I view it, yeah, it's the greatest intersection of creativity and basically logic and reasoning and puzzle solving. It's both, because it's both an art and a science.
Mm-hmm.
So you could think of programs as paintings. You can also think of them as buildings.
Mm-hmm.
You could think of it as snapping Legos together, but there's a lot of artistic choice in not only the code that you write, but how the program looks, how the program functions.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I think that a lot of people that I talk to who aren't really in that world, don't that surprises them a little, that it's that creative, and that it's that you can basically express yourself in code. But I think that's one of the coolest parts of it. So it's always been fun for me,
Mm-hmm.
and I just love the satisfaction of clicking the button and seeing that it works,
Mm-hmm.
that I conquered it, I figured it out.
Yeah.
I love figuring things out, and I love learning. And it's and another perk of it is, say you're building bridges, you know, that's very laborious, or you're fixing cars, that's pretty laborious. You can do all this and just sit at a keyboard and type, and so it's not too laborious. I mean, it's pretty mentally taxing, I'll be honest with that. It's not trivial.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, most of the time it is not that easy, but you get going, and it's fun, and you're always learning, and there's never a point where you say, okay, I know all there is to know. Now I can stop learning, and I know how to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
You're constantly figuring things out, constantly fixing things, constantly reinventing yourself, and that's what makes it fun,
Mm-hmm.
for me at least. You got to have a natural curiosity, you got to have a natural passion.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of easy to burn out in this field if you don't have either of them,
Mm-hmm.
but luckily I do. But uh, it is fun, and that's I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you have. So, viewers, um, I know there's some young people watching that are saying, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do. I want to create video games, or I want to create, different programs that do different things. You can start now. There's a free website called Scratch. It's at scratch.mit.edu. I have used it to work with some kids to create some different programs, some music programs, some games. And it's very fun, and it's, basically like putting puzzles together. It'll be like little blocks on the screen, and you set them up to do different things. It's not as technical as some of the computer coding programs can be. So it's a way for you to get started with computer programming, and adults can use it too. And then there are some programs already created, and all you have to do is mimic them. So if you're just learning, it's a little bit easier for you to kind of process the information. So you can get started that way if that's of interest to you. So,
Scratch is a great way to learn, I think, too. I've dabbled into it a little, and my wife also used it in one of her library programs, and
mhm,
I kind of wish it was around when I was learning, because I think it would have been a lot easier to learn how to program.
mhm.
Like it's very fun and
Yeah, it
very
is
easy to
fun.
learn. So
Yeah, I think when computer science was, just coming about years ago, because I remember when I was in undergrad and some people were in school for it, they would spend hours, at the computer lab creating programs, and, they never had any computer programming experience. So if they would have had something like Scratch, I think it would have been a little bit easier for them to kind of transition to the university world
definitely.
when it comes to computer science. So, kids take advantage of this. It's free, it's fun. You can do it with your friends, you can share your programs, you can get programs to interact with other programs. And then you get to see how many people use your program, and, they can use it, make comments. So it's just a fun way to get started with computer coding. So, Cameron, what obstacles did you face in the pursuit of your profession?
Obstacles. Let's see. Obstacles. Hmm. Well, I think one that a lot of people can relate to is the cost of college. That's
Not cheap.
and it's not cheap, and you have to rely a lot on financial aid and student loans. At least I did, and I'm still paying it off, but I'm close. I'm close to paying it off, but you know, at times it was a struggle when it was in the middle of the recession in 2008. I was 2007, 2008 was when I started community college, really. So I remember gas was almost $5 a gallon, and I overdrafted several times in my account. Like I was struggling with monetarily, so that was tough to get through, but I pulled through. I had tutoring. I had my support system, which I was grateful for.
Mhm,
And another obstacle, I guess, is how hard it can be.
mhm,
Like, I don't want to scare people away from it. Like, it's fun, and a lot of it can be pretty straightforward, but there are aspects to programming that you'll just stare at it and you're like, what is this? This
mhm,
doesn't make sense. I don't get it. And you just kind of have to work through it. You kind of have to, you know, learn from your mistakes. And because in my grad degree, I had to retake an entire class because I
mhm,
was just shy of getting a grade that would let me graduate. I was just shy of it.
mhm,
And that was the first time that happened for me. And it was pretty demoralizing. And
mhm,
that course was called Computability, Complexity, and Algorithms, which is even hard to say,
mhm. It
much
is.
less hard to take. But if you're studying computer science, which you don't actually have to be a
Mhm,
software engineer, because computer science is more the mathematics of computing and applied math and the science of algorithms, which an algorithm is like a recipe for what your program will do, a list of steps that the computer
Mm-hmm.
takes. Uh, it's that sort of thing. I mean, coding is kind of in it, but it's a lot more than that. It's a lot of theory.
Mm-hmm.
Working on programs in industry, you could get away with a software engineering degree, they're called. This doesn't really go into that too much. It goes into designing programs for businesses and best practices and learning coding. But you know, it's, I think, a little bit easier path if you want to just get in and start coding in businesses or making games or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you really want to be, say, a researcher or a scientist or a mathematician, computer science is pretty essential for that. If you want to be at the forefront of the computing revolution, if you want to contribute to the quantum computing, which is where the industry is going, and it's a little ways off, but we're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sort of thing you'd want to do with that. So
Mm-hmm.
that it was a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
but I studied, I hunkered down, I overcame,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up where I wanted to be. So you just gotta keep going. You gotta work hard. You gotta learn. I was taking a 18 credit load at one point and a 20-hour internship at the same time,
Wow, that's a heavy load.
and that was my last semester at Marist, and that really frazzled me, and I just wanted it to be done. I was like, this will be over. This will be over. This is not forever. It was very, very taxing, but it was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's a good field to get into. It pays very well, and it's very rewarding in my view. So those are some of the struggles that I've had to deal with. But in terms of getting jobs, it's always been rather easy for me, which I've been surprised by. But I've never had a gap, and uh, I have been laid off,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a possibility you have to think about.
Mm-hmm.
But luckily, it's a hot field, so it's pretty easy to find another job if you get laid off.
I'm glad you brought that up because some fields, with COVID going on, when COVID hit, it just shut it down. It was no
Yeah,
adapting to it. I mean, things are a little bit better now, but in the beginning, things were just shut down for months and people couldn't pay their bills. But luckily, because a lot of things went digital, I'm pretty sure anything that has to do with computers and the internet kind of skyrocketed. So this might be a good field for people to go into, if you're in between jobs or even if you're just starting out in school and you're looking towards going to this field. I like that you said you took a class, you didn't quite get the score you needed to get, but you got back in there. You took it again, you worked hard and you got through it. Sometimes, we'll take something, we don't make the score we want to make, or we don't get through, we don't pass it, and we just give up. And I'm here to tell you, viewers, that you're going to face different obstacles. We've talked to people each week about the obstacles they face. Each one is different, but everybody says they kind of failed forward. They, didn't get what they wanted, but they got back in there and kept trying and kept working at it. Maybe they came up with a new strategy. Maybe they relied on their support system. Maybe they networked with people, but they just kept going and kept trying. And so in high school, middle school, elementary school, you know, you're probably just worried about your classes, if you don't pass a class or, you're just learning how to grow up and different challenges come with that. But when you start to get out of school and start to look in the working world, there are going to be different challenges and obstacles that you're faced with. Some of them will be easy for you to get through. Some of them will be quite challenging. Some of them will make you just want to give up. But I'm here to tell you, just stay motivated, stay encouraged, keep trying, and you'll get there if it's something that you really want to do. But careers are not easy. Just because you see people who have degrees or who have some type of certification to do what they do, they still face challenges. And the lifelong learning part is essential. Cameron spoke about that several times. He just kept learning and he's still learning. And that's usually what happens in your profession. You may take other classes. You may have other projects you have to work on. You may have to prepare for those projects by doing research. So the learning never stops. So right now, I would encourage you to try to find something that you love doing so that it doesn't feel like work, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be at work the majority of your adult life. And so you want to make sure it's pleasurable. You want to make sure that it's fun. You want to make sure that you're excited to go and be a part of it. And now, while you're young, you have plenty of time to explore various careers. So I encourage you to look into whatever you want to do and try to find out more about it. So, Cameron, now that COVID has hit, it has changed a lot of different organizations and industries. How has it changed your industry of software engineering?
There's a lot of changes to the industry, and some of them are great and some of them not so great. I think because of the nature of the pandemic and everything was shut down and everybody needed to move to online teleconferencing and online systems, like there's a big boom in providing technology, like the technology companies, the big ones, the
Mm-hmm.
Googles, the Amazons, they're doing gangbusters. Things are going great. And it really accelerated some of the societal changes that might have been coming a little bit slower otherwise. Like a lot more restaurants are doing online ordering,
Mm-hmm.
like remote education for pre-college, so secondary and primary schools, and that kind of was thrust upon them, and people had to adapt. And a lot of teachers who never taught before online had to suddenly figure it out. So there's a lot of opportunity there, but at the same time, a lot of industries are getting ravaged by this, unfortunately. And if you serve an industry that is getting ravaged and you provide services and programs to them, then your business is going to go down
Mm-hmm.
because there's fewer companies to buy what you make.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it is also dependent on the industries that you serve.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, in our company, we, in terms of our clients, they're the big financial firms. I think they're still doing pretty well. And personally, for our company, we used to have to go into the office every day, and we could work from home as needed. We worked in the office to encourage that collaboration and communication, and the atmosphere that promotes. And when all the shutdowns happened,
Mm-hmm.
we all worked from home, and I've been working from home since March,
Wow.
nonstop,
Mm-hmm.
because of that. And I don't know when I'll be back. And when I am back, we're going to have to do temperature checks and social distancing and certain one-way aisles and all sorts of mitigation efforts. So it's almost better to work from home in a way, because there's not as many barriers that you have to deal with, because you could just be home and video conference like we're doing now, or
Mm-hmm.
call people or send messages. Like in my career, I've had a mixture of being in the office and working from home. And there's pros and cons to each. And I kind of like a mix of both because working from home, you get to walk to your office because it's in your house.
Mhm,
If you need to run an errand, you can do it.
mhm,
If you need, you know, you you can concentrate if you have, like, say, an office room like mine and you're not around a bunch of people at work who are doing other things.
mhm.
And it's a good way to get a lot of work done. But on the other side of the coin, those personal relationships don't really get developed if you're exclusively work from home and you never meet your team or work with your team. And there's been times where I've worked with people I've never met and
Wow.
never did.
Mm,
And there's times that I worked with people 5 time zones away,
mhm.
like in Scotland, which
Wow.
I got to go to Scotland and that was fun, Edinburgh. But like, it's hard to collaborate with people in other time zones, but you just got to do it because that's the nature of the job. So when
Mhm,
you're looking for things like getting promoted or getting recognition, I think it's a lot easier if you're there in the office and they see you and they know you and you can form a relationship. And it's definitely easier to communicate with people face to face and in an office because you don't have to wait to schedule time with them.
mhm,
So it's really a balancing act, and I like a little mixture of both. I've had well-side offices with doors, like a
mhm,
room. I've had open office where it's all us in a room together,
mhm,
and those comes with its own share of caveats and benefits. But COVID has definitely impacted the industry, impacted our company, and the uncertainty. I don't know. I don't think anybody knows where things are going,
mhm,
but hopefully they end up for the best.
mhm. Yeah, so adults, I can't stress enough. Now's the time, if you have it, to learn as much as you can learn about technology because it looks like we're going to be using it in our homes more and more. And so I know you probably have, if you have kids, you probably have kids who are either preparing to do digital classes or who may already be doing digital classes. And so, you know, you might have to assist them with that. And then also, you yourself, if you're working a job or you're looking for a job, is going to be something that you might have to incorporate into your daily life. So, if you have the time to learn as many software programs as possible, Zoom is what we're using right now. I know it's pretty popular with a lot of organizations for meetings and just for interaction, period. And there's several others out there that you can look into, but it's becoming the new norm. So if you don't have any type of computer skills, maybe you can look for some courses to try to gain some skills. You can always reach out to us at the library and we can probably point you in the right direction to try to get some assistance with that. We used to offer computer classes when we were in the branch face to face, but it's a little bit more challenging now that we are dealing with COVID. So, we'll try to assist you as best as possible. But yeah, computers, it's just the way of the world now.
For
Uh,
better or worse.
yep. um, Another question I have for you, Cameron, is uh, what type of volunteer opportunities or internship opportunities can young people look for when they're trying to get into this field?
There's a ton of them.
Mhm,
There was an internship I did mention that was volunteer. I interned at the Goshen Library as a network administrator, which is, our industry.
mhm,
And most of the internships in this profession are paid, luckily.
mhm. That's
So
good.
Yes, because you do real work. You're really writing software. You're really learning how to do it. You're working on real projects. So they pay you real money. And that was the case for my internship with IBM.
Mhm.
And all the big companies I know have internship opportunities constantly. And the big companies, they can get pretty competitive with that. But there's tons of opportunities for that. Look to do it in the summer, uh, because that's when a lot of them happen. Mine was technically a co-op, so I did mine until I was done with school,
Mhm.
but it was basically from the summer before my last semester to the end of my last semester.
Mhm.
And in terms of volunteer work, um, to start out with, like besides internships, you could. I've done some volunteering. Like there's this Hudson Valley Tech Festival
Mhm.
that we just started last year, and they have what's called a hackathon, which
Mhm.
is where a bunch of people get in a room and they have some grand challenge, like, you know, how can we come up with solutions to better the community, or let's come up with a solution that will improve the eco friendliness of a certain aspect of life, or come up with an app that will be able to order from your local restaurants, or some practical problem
Mhm.
that you could solve, and you just crank out a solution. Oftentimes it's 24 hours or a day or a
Mhm.
weekend, and then you get judged by a panel, and then there's prizes, and it's a lot of fun. And I volunteered at one of those as sort of a competitor and sort of a mentor,
Mhm.
industry mentor, as at that first Hudson Valley Tech Fest.
Mhm.
I know there's a program called P-Tech that IBM has, Pathways in Technology, that they go to schools and they talk to students who might be interested in technology. And there's P-Tech schools, like I think there's one around us.
Mhm.
Um, they get a lot of engineer mentors to talk about the profession and why you might want to join it.
Mhm.
So if you do want to volunteer or intern, again, the door, it's pretty encouraged.
Mhm.
Like either be in an educational program, or there's boot camps where you could take a course over a few days.
Mhm.
They give you a lot of the basic knowledge you need to learn a specific skill, and then you could put that on your resume. There's lots of avenues for that. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, so viewers, I guess the key is research. Use the internet to try to find different opportunities out there to learn about computer engineering or software development, anything to do with computers. Volunteer at events, not just with this industry, but a lot of industries have events happening and they need volunteers to help out, because coordinating an event is a lot of work and you need some people behind the scenes in order to make things go smoothly. So just get out there, do your research, look at different companies. You mentioned a lot of big name companies, Google, Amazon, IBM. There are several out there, and they would love to have you as an intern or a volunteer. You just have to get out there, see what opportunities they have, apply for it, and see what happens. So, Cameron, the next question is, what comments do you have about the industry that people just entering it may want to know?
Comments about the industry. Let's see. Well, I do know something I was thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a lot of fun to be had in it, and not just in coding. Like, a lot of companies have free lunch, free food. They have rec rooms. Like, I've been paid to play board games.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that on the clock. We've had Super Smash Brothers tournaments. We play video games.
Okay.
So it's not all, hunker down and work. There's a lot of opportunity to kind of have fun,
Mm-hmm.
kind of go out and do team building things,
Mm-hmm.
like little sports games or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
For the industry, I think we're in a good place, and it's very, like I said, it's very hot right now. Like, if you if you learn it, it would be very easy to find jobs in
Mm-hmm.
it compared to other industries. And I get constant recruitment messages on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every few days, there's a recruiter looking for somebody.
Wow,
And
that's
it's
awesome.
what,
So, for the adult viewers, I get this question all the time in the library, like, what field or career should I look into? I'm in between jobs. I don't know what to do. So right now, COVID has brought about a unique time, a unique situation where computer programmers, software engineers, anything to do with computers, you could just be tech helping people troubleshoot different areas of using the computer or the internet. So there may be certification programs out there that don't take a whole lot of time. You can just get a certification and possibly get employed. So this may be an avenue you want to look into right now. And I know a lot of people are looking for jobs. The unemployment rate is extremely high in PG County. And so we're trying to educate you on what's out there so you can know what to look for. And this is a career field that is going to, I think, continue to grow at a rapid pace, especially now. So you can start looking into possible programs. And usually, when there is a field that's in high demand, there are things that happen to alter the amount of time that you have to spend to get certified or to get a degree because they need to hurry and get people in those positions. So I'm not sure if that's happening with this industry or not, but if it's not, I'm pretty sure it might happen soon because the demand is so high. So please look into that. Do your research. If you need assistance, reach out to us at the library. And last question, Cameron. When you first started your training and education, where did you think you would be?
where did I think I would be? I hoped I would be at a big company working on fun problems, changing the world, solving the world's issues, contributing something, that helps people.
Mhm.
And I I think I did end up there, luckily, and it was a lot of hard work and a lot of perseverance. But
Mhm.
I wanted to be, yeah, a software engineer
Mhm.
working at a big company, and that's where I ended up. And it's easy to get lost in a big company as a new hire
Mhm.
sometimes, because it's your first time in the corporate world. You're trying to figure things out. You're trying to navigate the structure. You're trying to learn all the ins and outs and the sort of norms that they
Mhm.
don't teach you in school. So it's a different ball game.
Mhm.
But you just gotta kind of find a mentor and kind of keep at it and keep learning. And uh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for telling us about the mentor. I keep stressing it, but I think viewers will continue to absorb it as each person comes on and says the same thing, that they had a mentor or they found a mentor. This person was a person they could talk to about any issues they had on the job, any obstacles. They could strategize with this person if there was something they wanted to do at work, but they weren't quite there yet. So please, if you are a young person, it's not too early to find a mentor. You can find one now and they can help you navigate to which career you want to go towards. And then if you're an adult, you need a mentor professionally, someone that you can talk to um, about your career goals, someone that you can talk to about something you want to do at work, or maybe you want to excel or advance to a higher position. Maybe you or wanted to learn about a different aspect of the organization you work for. The mentor can really help support you in doing that. They can also help you with your self-evaluation of yourself, to evaluate yourself and see what things you need to work on, or maybe there's more education you need to get in certain areas. So I cannot stress enough how important a mentor is. So if you don't have one, try to work towards getting one. And then the last question really is for me, Cameron, and it's what are some resources the library offers for people who are new to the job market, changing careers, maybe looking for new work due to COVID-19? Basically, viewers, you can go to our website at pgcmls.info, go to our online library, and then navigate to our jobs and careers section. Once you get there, there'll be 3 areas you can look at: Brain Fuse, Career Transitions, and the Learning Express Library. You can get help with your resume, your cover letter there. There's also a live job coach. And then if you are a high school student, maybe you're looking to get into college, you can work on practice tests for college entrance. There's also tutorials for math, reading, and writing. So there's really something for everyone. And our website is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as long as you have internet connection, and you can use your library card number to access a lot of our resources. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Cameron. We enjoyed talking with you. I learned a lot, as I always do. I'm pretty sure our viewers learned a lot. And we just appreciate, you giving us the knowledge of the career and your career path.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be able to share it and hopefully inspire the next generation of software engineers.
Yes. So viewers, stay safe. Again, tune into us each and every Wednesday at 3 o'clock, where we talk with someone in a new career and hopefully explore a new career path that may be of interest to you. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.